We are studying oligopoly, which is competition amongst few, and we looked at one of the first models of oligopoly, which incorporates interdependence in decision making, called the Cournot model. Cournot's model looks at two firms, or a market that contains two firms, or what we looked at is duopoly. In this lecture, we'll look at the extensions of Cournot's model. Cournot had assumed that each firm takes the output of its rival as given and then chooses the output level that maximizes total profits. Another French mathematician by the name of Bertrand, he came up with another model which is very similar to Cournot's model except for one assumption, and that is it's all about expectations. And in Bertrand model, each firm takes the price of its rival as given and then chooses the price that maximizes total profits. So in Cournot's model, what kind of expectations we have? It's about the output of the rival firm. Under Bertrand model, the expectation is about the price of the rival firm. So when we are studying Bertrand model, where each firm takes the price of its rival as given and then tries to do the best it can under the circumstances, without drawing any diagrams, let us try to understand the consequences of Bertrand model. Consider a very simple example where it costs nothing to produce and sell a product, and there are still two firms and each one wants to maximize total profits. In such a case, what is your guess as to what will be the final price and total profits made under the Bertrand model? This is an interesting question and you should be able to guess the answer. Now in this case, the answer will be the final price will collapse to the cost and the final price under Bertrand will be zero. And how much profits will be made under Bertrand model by each of the firms? It will still be zero. Why does this happen? Suppose there are two of us on the street. We are selling bottled waters. And what we do is we pick up used water bottles, fill them up with water that we can get from our university, cap them and sell them on the street. And there are just two of us on the street. Suppose I charge a price of $2 per bottle to my customers and you are there in the market. What you do is you take my price of $2 as given and you assume that I'll do nothing irrespective of what price you charge, and what you do is you set a price of $1.90. When I'm charging $2 and you are charging $1.90 and we are standing on the same street selling water bottles, what will customers do? All of them will come to you and buy water bottles from you. Now when I see your price as $1.90, what I do in the next time period is I lower the price to $1.80, and now what happens? In this case now all the customers will move away from you and will start buying bottled water from me. When you observe that I'm charging 10 cents lower than you, what you do is you lower the price to $1.70, and now since your price is lower than my price, all customers will buy bottled water from you. And this process will go on, and eventually what will happen because of this kind of competitive price war, eventually the final price will collapse to the cost of producing and selling it, which is zero. And how much profits will we make? If we charge nothing, we'll make zero profits. So this will be the final outcome under Bertrand model, and that is the final price and total profits will exactly equal zero. Let us examine another extension of Cournot's model. It is called the Stackelberg model, and it is due to a French mathematician. Now, Stackelberg model is pretty much like Cournot's model, that is, each firm takes the output of its rival as given. So it's the same as Cournot's. But the only difference between Stackelberg and Cournot is firm 1 knows that firm 2 will take the output of firm 1 as given. So in a way, if you are able to understand or guess the behavior of your rival, you can get into their mind. That will make you a smart person or a leader person. And what will the other person be? The dumb person or the follower. Why? Because in such a case, when you can figure out what your rival will do under different circumstances, you can manipulate that person's behavior in a way which is advantageous to you. And so, in such a case, firm 1 will be the Stackelberg leader because it knows what firm 2 does and how it behaves. And firm 2 is simply a follower, Stackelberg follower. Now if you assume this, that firm 1 is the leader or the smarter firm and firm 2 is the follower or the dumb firm, in such a case, what kind of outcome would you expect? And this is what you would expect because firm 1 can manipulate firm 2 to its own advantage. Firm 1 will produce more output than firm 2, and firm 1 should also make more profits relative to firm 2. So this is the consequence of Stackelberg model when we assume firm 1 is a smart or a leader firm and firm 2 is the dumb firm or a follower firm. Now let us compare outcomes under different models. We have Cournot's model, Stackelberg model and Bertrand model, and the key assumption here is that these firms do not communicate with one another. And like we have seen in the case of Bertrand model, the price and the total profits are driven to zero or to their lowest possible level. Suppose these firms decide to talk to each other and collaborate and maybe decide to share the market. You take the left side of the street and I take the right side of the street. And they decide that let us, instead of fighting with each other, let us fix a common price. So what these two firms do is when they decide to join hands like this and they decide to on a principle of market sharing and also decide to set a common price for their product, then in a way we would have a situation like monopoly. So let us compare Cournot, Stackelberg, Bertrand and monopoly. What will be the different outcomes? In order to make the comparison between four models, Cournot, Bertrand, Stackelberg and monopoly, let us make the following assumptions. The demand curve we are looking at is linear and can be represented like this. The second assumption we make it is cost nothing to produce and sell an output. In terms of representation, letter A represents the highest level, letter D represents the lowest level. The variables represent total output, total profits of the two rival firms taken together. So whatever you see in the table is for two rivals taken together. And we know that Stackelberg leader will produce more and earn more profit as compared to the Stackelberg follower. And we also know that each firm under Bertrand model will charge a zero price and earn zero profit. So once again, here is the summary table which compares total output amongst all these four models, total profits earned, and the price charged. And what you find is the total output produced will be the lowest under monopoly, represented by D, and the highest output that will be produced will be under Bertrand model, which is A, the highest level. What about total profits? And then you have intermediate stages for Stackelberg and Cournot. What about total profits? When two firms combine together and behave like a monopolist, they'll earn the highest profit. Under Bertrand, because they get into a price war, they will earn the lowest profit. And then you have these rankings for Cournot and Stackelberg. What about price? It's very similar to what you have for total profits. The price charged by a monopolist will be the highest, and a price charged by firms under Bertrand will be the lowest. So these comparisons are pretty useful, and what you find is instead of firms fighting with each other, if they decide to combine, then they become like monopoly and can maximize or earn more profits than they would under any of these conditions. So in a way, this concludes our lecture on models of duopoly, when we started with Cournot, and then we looked at the extensions by Bertrand and Stackelberg, and then we compared the outcomes and compared them to what we would have under monopoly. Thank you for your time.